Our affirmation this week, I see and embrace the divine in every situation. This is the anniversary of the Angelus Fellowship. On Palm Sunday back in 1927, Dr. and Hattie Garlish had the first service of the fellowship. And so we're certainly excited to have had that fellowship continue on to today. And here we are, 87 years later, still meeting and enjoying the fellowshipping and the New Thought teachings that Dr. and Hattie found very important and wanted to share with people. Also, we know that this is Palm Sunday. We're all familiar with the stories from the Bible. I'm certain as we were young and went to Sunday school and we learned all about the things that Jesus did in his life. And of course, Palm Sunday is when he came into the city and everybody was so enamored and so happy to see him, and they were lining the streets with the palm fronds, the leaves, for him to walk on. And that, of course, was a time when he was greatly adored. And in that circumstance, he was able to see, without much trouble at all, the divine in that situation. And today I wanted to talk about seeing the divine in the situation, because we know what happened to Christ a few days later, and all of us, if we walk through that, we certainly would be very challenged to see the divine in that. Where is the divine in that? And we also go through so many challenges in our own life. And a friend of mine had shared something with me this week, which led me to think, oh, this is a great thing to talk about. Because as I was just mentioning, a few days after Christ had come into the city, that situation turned from what was the obvious divine, when everybody was so excited to see him and they were lining the streets with the palms and welcoming him, to the challenges that later fell on him. And of course, we have, well, I don't want to say similar challenges. I hope none of you have to look forward to that this week. But a friend of mine had sent a nice little inspirational writing this week. What he was going for in talking about seeing the divine in every situation was a lot of the delays and the things that we go through in life. Delays and interruptions. If we are experiencing a flight delay, a mechanical problem, a canceled flight, we're stuck in traffic, we're in the line at the supermarket, and a lot of us, and I am just as guilty as most, you get to that place where you're frustrated and you're anxious. And rather than being in that place, that can be the most excellent time to stop and see the divine in it. See, wow, you know what? I have these extra few moments. I can't do anything anyways. I may as well go in myself, enjoy some calming meditative affirmations, and share this time with God. And maybe even if you're, probably not if you're driving, but if you're certainly in the line of the supermarket or a delayed flight or some similar situation, you can close your eyes and close off all your thoughts and let that be the receptive time when you get that divine intervention from God, when God talks to you. Because, of course, when we pray, we're talking to God. When we meditate, when we quiet everything, we open our minds, that's when we're letting God talk to us. So in all of these things that we find so annoying and so troubling in our day-to-day life, there is the divine. So we need to stop and appreciate that and understand the divine in that situation, like in all situations. So our question this week, do I become frustrated with setbacks and delays, or do I see and embrace the divine interventions? We know that in life we have a lot of setbacks. When Dr. and Hattie began the fellowship, it was their edict that none of the ministers can be compensated, that we all have to work outside. And so all of us do have outside interests. And a lot of times, especially sometimes here in the state of California, and just everything being what it is, starting a new business can be a challenge. There are setbacks and there are delays and setbacks and delays. And so, we had invested a considerable sum. And, we're waiting for documents from the state so we can go open the bank account. I'm waiting for the phone company to come and set up lines. I mean, it was very frustrating at that point in time because there was one delay after the next after the next. But in hindsight, when I would look back and see, it seemed, it's good that hadn't happened, because if that had happened then, I wouldn't have been prepared with this. So these setbacks and delays, aside from the fact that we can take the time and meditate and enjoy that moment, these are divine interventions. We are exactly where we're supposed to be. God always has us exactly where we're supposed to be. So no matter how treacherous, how deep, how dark the valley, God is with us through it all. And so every circumstance and every situation is a divine situation for us to embrace and enjoy, rather than get bogged down in and worried about and see only the bad. Because even at the worst, we're always exactly where we are supposed to be. Whether it's to learn a lesson, whether it's to help somebody else, whether it's to keep a bad thing from happening to someone else, we are always exactly where we're supposed to be. So we need to see and embrace the divine in every situation. So again, as you go through the week, as you are going through your chores and your work day, ask yourself, do I become frustrated with setbacks and delays, or do I see and embrace these as divine interventions? Is this God's telling me, you know what, slow down, take a few minutes, enjoy. This is your divine intervention time. And the good news is that the divine is with us and within us in every situation. A setback, a delay, a long line, these are all divine interventions, opportunities for us to pause and to reflect and to take time to see the divine and to embrace it, knowing that we are always exactly where we're supposed to be. So again, the good news is every situation is divine and has you exactly where you're supposed to be. So when we get to that place where we're thinking that we're frustrated or annoyed, or why am I being put here? Why am I in this long line? Why is my flight delayed? I've got to get there. These are the times when we need to roll back and realize that we're there because that's where God needs us to be. We need to be exactly where we are to get where we need to get going. Because I use this analogy a lot, is that we don't have the same viewpoint. We're down here. We're like the little ants scurrying around, and God, of course, is up there. He sees it. He knows the whole plan that we can barely even see. So when you feel like you're at a level of frustration or thinking that God isn't there with you, He's not listening to you, what's going on? Why am I in this circumstance or situation? Understand that you're there because you're supposed to be there, and every situation is divine.